Welcome to the Augusta Golf Show podcast. Now, here's John Patrick.
Jim Nantz is going to be back for his 39th Masters, a tournament he has yet to win. It is always a pleasure to welcome Jim Nantz back to the Augusta Golf Show. How are you, my friend?
Well, thank you. The way you put things, JP, I love it. Yeah, I'm still trying to win it. It's been nice to get invited back, though. It's
but
the joy of my career.
Putting has been a problem through the years.
Putting
right?
has been just one of many problems. It goes right through the bag.
Well, now the lead up to this tournament has been a little different for you. I know you went to a couple of NCAA games as a spectator. How did you decompress some in March?
My goodness, I made a trip actually to your neck of the woods to visit some friends and play Augusta, and that was fun. Mm-hmm. And I went to Cabo for the spring break with my kids, which I've always missed out on that. That was glorious. Yeah, I went to a couple of NCAA tournament games. Houston was, of course, the headliner in my life, but there was a second game attached to that game that day with Clemson playing there. And, gosh, I went to Corpus Christi for Easter. I have not had an Easter that I did not work on that day in 40 years now, because Easter always rotates between the last two weekends, of course, in March, and the first two weekends or whatever of April. And I'm always been booked on all those dates whenever it might fall. And I was in Corpus Christi with my oldest daughter and son-in-law, enjoying a winging ceremony. He's an F-18 pilot, fighter pilot, and it was like a graduation ceremony for him down at Kingsville, Texas. So,
good for you.
These are all things I could have never done. So I've enjoyed it. It's going to be a different way of coming into Augusta, definitely much more rested, but so anxious, as always, to get back and get into the tournament week.
Yeah, have you caught any of Caitlin Clark? Have you caught any of the women?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I sure did.
God,
watched the game against LSU, which was amazing. And I met Caitlin, by the way. She's a big golfer.
Yes.
She just happened to show up at the door of our broadcast booth on Christmas Day. Romo and I were calling the Chiefs and the Raiders, and she was there just a few months back, and she was there with her dad, and we invited her to stay in the booth for a while and observe and watch, and she did, and had a great visit with her at halftime.
Good. All right, with all of these changes, with your different schedules, so this weekend, you got the opportunity for the first time to be in town for the women's amateur and/or drive, chip, and putt, or you could be watching your Cougars, or you could be at home. What are you going to do?
I am actually assigned to the Final Four to make a cameo on one of the studio shows on Saturday. So I'm heading out to Phoenix for some obligations on Saturday with the network, and on Friday night and Saturday morning with Capital One. I've had the great joy of
how are the harmonica lessons going?
They are. I wish I could play it for you. I got a new harmonica sent to me yesterday.
We're fine.
From Melissa. Well, you heard it. It's on the air.
Yeah, we're fine.
You heard it.
We don't need you playing the harmonica, Nance.
It's so good. It's my new thing. It's a talent that most people weren't aware that I even had.
And the hat that you wore for the paint, that came out of your
beret.
wardrobe? That came out of your wardrobe?
Yeah, the beret. I have that right here also, by the way.
We're talking.
It can be borrowed if anybody wants it.
We're talking with Jim Nantz.
For a fee.
Of course, here on the Augusta Golf Show. Vern is going to be my only guest next week on the program. He was great to talk to. It's his 40th final Masters. Talk a little bit about Vern. What has his presence meant to the telecasts through the years?
Well, Vern is just, first off, he's such a wonderful man, comforting figure to be around. And I've had the joy of being a teammate with Vern's for a long, long time. Going to miss him so much. I just hate to see it coming to an end. This is his 40th Masters, which is the record. And he's just, from my early years when I was a kid, new at the network, no one could have been more welcoming or mentoring than Vern was to me. His voice, as I said to him yesterday, is going to live forever at Augusta. I always have this kind of belief that tournament week, a lot of these legends of the game kind of come back and they're alive again. Their presence is felt at Augusta, whether it's Sarazen, Hogan, and Snead, or, of course, Arnold Palmer, or anyone from yesteryear, Bobby Jones. I feel their presence. It's like a week where they're all in the game again. And I said, Vern, you are too. You're going to live there forever. As long as they're playing Masters tournaments and clips from the Masters, I don't care how many centuries down the road it is, they're going to have calls of yours. They're going to be in the mix. You're going to always have residence and permanence there. So he's just a wonderful man and just a giant in my life.
As someone who pays attention to the things you pay attention to, maybe not yes, sir, but in your life, when something like that happens, you're probably knee-deep in the telecast and don't think about it. But doing what you do you shake your head and just marvel at, there's Vern?
That one, yes. I mean, yes, many of them, yes. But that one above all, when it happened, the whole thing was surreal. The ball hanging on the lip and then tumbling in after a 2 or 3 second pause, and then Vern having that reaction that he had in your life. Have you ever seen anything like that? I mean, it was. You could sit down and take a college course, meet for once or twice a week for a whole semester, and have kids work on the art of a call, and then try to give them certain situations to simulate and try to come up with a great line. And you could go through a whole 3-month class on it, and no one would come up with something that would be as good as that on the fly from Vern. So it was brilliant.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. It's going to be a busy year for country superstar Jason Aldean. He's extended his Highway Desperado tour and is teaming up with Kid Rock for Rock the Country tour dates. We've ranked our top 5 Jason Aldean music videos. Text Jason to 45911 to see if your favorite made the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Jason to 45911 and we'll send the link straight to your phone.
Sunday, before the final round, the network's going to be airing a special, the 2019 Masters, a Sunday unlike any other, Tigers victory. Talk a little bit about that special.
Well, there's going to be a look back 5 years later to what Tiger did. I mean, it's how fast did those 5 years take place? And it's a day that's so fresh in my mind. And I was interviewed for that piece. Actually the week of the Super Bowl. And I had a friend of mine, Sam Farmer from the LA Times, happened to be sitting in on that interview with Brian Kozowski, who was the show producer. And Sam said afterwards, how in the world did you remember in such vivid detail everything that happened that day? I said, Sam, it was so big in my mind, it felt like it was yesterday. So it's going to be a great show. There's another show that's going to be called The Spanish Invasion, and it's a look back at Jose Maria Olazábal's 2 Masters victories and the influence that he's had on the next generation of Spanish golfers, whether it be Sergio or John Rahm. And I'm very excited about that show, also having spent a lot of time working on it with Chris Fenson, our producer on that one, and meeting up with Jose in the fall. And Chris actually went to his hometown in Spain with Jose and spent 2 days getting a look at what his hometown, what his life looks like over there. It's a pretty amazing look into the life of a guy that, as great a player as he's always been, we didn't really know much about what his life looks like. And I'm very excited about showcasing that one, too.
Good for you. Good for you. Before I let you go, before the Super Bowl, you were on Dan Patrick's show, and you revealed that you keep special items on your person during the Super Bowl. Do you do the same thing here?
Well, I don't. I know I probably should. I guess as I get older, I keep holding on to memories and try to bring people into it that were influential in my life, and I've often worn a forget-me-not tie at the Masters on Sunday. I don't know I'm going to do it this year. It's a tie that makes me think of my father. And I wore it, for example, this year at the Super Bowl. But no, I don't really. But man, my memories and my tribute to those of that came before me, or I had the honor of working with early in my career, they are front of mind. I feel their presence. I truly do. Whether it be Frank Chirkinian, your former Augusta friend and neighbor right there in your town, or whether it be Ken Venturi or Pat Summerall, I just remember them all in so many ways. And I feel like I'm the last link to those days of CBS golf. It was an amazing time in my life to be a part of that group, that ensemble, under the direction of Frank. And I was just a young kid, a few years removed from college, and a great many of them are all gone now. Pat and Kenny and Ben Wright and Frank, they're all gone. Had a great exchange recently with Steve Melnick, who was a longtime CBS broadcaster into the 80s and 90s, and he was down at Amen Corner back in those days. And I'm going to see Steve hopefully the week of the Masters. He's going to be up there with his wife, Debbie, and we both are just saying, man, what was that like? To think of it now, to be a part of that team, it was amazing.
Jim, when we first went out there, we were in our 20s.
Yeah, that's right.
Whew.
You still are in your 30s or 40s,
and
but
yet
I've aged rapidly.
Yes, well, it's the camera. It adds years. I
guess that's what it is, pounds and years. He
is Jim Nantz. He will be here for his 39th Masters. I deeply thank you for taking the time to do this.
Well, I got to tell you, JP, I took a hiatus from March 1st until the Masters week, and I didn't know at that point that I was going to be making a cameo on the studio show at the Final Four, but I said, I'm not doing any interviews. I'm just going to lay low for 5 weeks. And then, of course, your name popped up.
Then, of course, I'm there.
And then, it is a tradition unlike any other that we do this pre-Masters. So I'm big on tradition. We've got to continue it. So very happy to catch up with you again, my old friend. Yes.
Hey, all right. I'm penciling you in for next year. Thank you, Jim.
You got it. See you, JP. I hope to see you under the tree.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Like most fans of country music, we're excited to learn that Luke Combs was back in the studio working on his next album. We've come up with our list of iconic Luke Combs music videos. Yes, Lovin' On You made the cut. Text Luke to 45911 to see if your favorite made the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Luke to 45911 and we'll send the link straight to your phone.